Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the High Ticket Coaching and Consultant Strategy and Growth Show. Now, if you're listening to this interview anywhere else but within our private Facebook community called High Ticket Client Attraction Insider Circle, definitely come check us out. We'd definitely love to have you. And that community was put together specifically for coaches, consultants, and service providers who are serious about getting up to that 6 and that 7-figure level. So if that's you, definitely come check us out. Now, today, I want to introduce you to one of the members of our community, Linda. Welcome, Linda.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. You're welcome. So Linda, tell myself and the rest of the community, what is that you do?
What I do is I help leaders to crystallize their vision of what they want in their life and their business so that they're in power and control. And then I help them put together a strategic plan so they can actually have a step-by-step process to achieve all of their dreams and desires.
Awesome. So what got you started down this path?
I've done a variety of things. I can't keep a job, so I have a resume a mile long. And I did a lot of contract work. And then I found myself doing corporate training. So I got into the auto parts suppliers to Honda and into a really niche group there, teaching first-time supervisors how to supervise their staff in a kinder, gentler way, because what they were doing was not so gentle. And from that, some of the people who participated in my program stayed after class and they were asking me one-on-one questions. Some of them signed on to be my one-on-one clients. And that's how the coaching component started.
Awesome. Love it. Love it. So what's your why for why you do what you do?
I can see the difference right in front of my eyes change. When I wrote my book, Zest Your Life, A Taste of Inner Wisdom, what I first did was I workshopped the materials and I could see the difference. It was all women participants, but I can really see the change. There's one particular woman who came in and it was a very sad story because her husband was a police officer. He was off duty and he did something he never did. He went to the bar with the boys and somebody walked in and shot him and killed him right there in the bar, left her widowed with 2 young children. And this was 12 years before I met her and she had never gotten over it. And she came into my program and doing one of the exercises, she and her girlfriend were hugging, they were crying, they were laughing. She had had a huge breakthrough. Now I must admit, I never saw her again. She kept writing me, I'm taking my kids to Orlando. Sorry, I can't make it. I'm taking my kids here. I'm taking my kids there. And those children regained their mother, and she regained her children after all those years of separation. So that really motivates me to keep doing the work that I do when I see how quickly someone can break through just by having someone to talk to, someone to link arms with them, someone that they know is there and has their back.
Awesome, awesome. So grab your book. Can you hold the book closer? Are you able to? Awesome. Zest Your Life. How long did it take you to write that one?
It started with the workshops in 2015. So I did 2 sets of workshops and then I rewrote it again and turned it into a manuscript. And I'm very proud to say it's the #1 international bestseller, endorsed by Dr. Joe Vitale of The Secret, if you're familiar with Dr. Joe Vitale.
Right.
And Marsha Weeder, who's the CEO of Dream University. So I'm very proud of the book and I'm very proud of the impact that it has on people when they read it. And a lot of couples are reading it together, even though it was written for women, couples are reading it and they love it.
Awesome. And you said you also have a couple of workshops based off of it as well too.
Yes, absolutely. Because the book is written that it has exercises in it. And so I walk people through the exercises and I did a series of webinars. So when people buy the book, then they get webinars where I'm talking them through all the exercises.
Awesome. Love it. So if you had to condense your life, everything you've learned and everything you've done into one sentence, if you had to combine it into that, what would your one sentence be?
It would be live a zesty life and share your zest because the world needs it. And I think that's what you're doing too. You are sharing the zest and helping everybody else to be able to share their skills and talents, because never has there been a time in the world, in my opinion, where we could use more zest. And it's not time for us to hide our skills, our talents, our beauty in a jar. It's time for us to pull all that out and share it with the world, because the world needs that much love right now.
Right. So what is your definition of zest? How do you define zest?
Well, it didn't start off this way, but it did turn into an acronym. So the Z, it's the ZEST process. So the first thing you need to do is zero in, really zero in on what you want. That's what I talk about when I say crystallize what you want in your life and in your business. The E is for emotion. Get excited and emotional about it. Every memory that you have that is in your brain has an emotion attached to it. It could be a good emotion, a bad memory, a good memory, but you know there's emotion stuck in there real strong. So you want to get emotional about what you want in your life. It can't just be, yeah, well, I want a new car, or maybe not, who cares? I want this, I want a wonderful family, I want a relationship, yeah, but whatever. You can't have whatever. You had to zero in on what you want, get excited, emotional about it. And then the S is for success. Then you define success your way. You know, so often we're labeled with, if you do this, that's successful. If you don't do this, that's not successful. But it's time for us to grow up and define success our own way. What's success to me is different than what success is to you. And if you follow those three, then you will transcend and transform to a higher place and to a better place in your life and in your business. That's the ZEST process.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I walk my clients through.
Awesome. Love it. Love it. That's awesome. And that name come up over time. How did you come up? Were you like thinking, was it just you woke up and like, that's what it is? How did you define it?
I did exactly that. You're right. It was divine inspiration. And I must admit, I think most of the book came to me that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I woke up at 4:00 in the morning and went into my office and crawled back into bed at 6 a.m. And my husband said, "Where were you?" And I said, "Well, either I was sleepwalking and I wrote total gibberish, or I think I just started to write a book." And when I got back into my office, I cut up all the pieces, which turned into the 4 parts of the book. You know, the old-fashioned way, I printed and then I put it on the wall and laid it out, and it established into different themes. And then I had to have a title. And only then I woke up again one morning and I went, that's it. It's Zest Your Life. That's the title. And then, of course, it had to have the orange on it. That was my daughter's inspiration. She had to have an orange with the zest.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm well branded in orange, as you can see.
Yes, love it. Awesome stuff. Now, what are the big projects? What else do you have coming up? What are you working on these days?
Right now, I am working on the infrastructure for my business because I'm ready to launch some of my programs more online. I have a couple of really good programs and speaking engagements around powerful first impressions, because it's so important to make that powerful first impression. And people don't know how to introduce themselves. So many of my clients would say, you know, so what do you do? I'm in insurance. Boring. So if you say to someone, I'm the person you call when you find out that your basement's flooded and your policy doesn't cover it anymore, so you need to talk to me, I'm in the insurance business, then they want to know more. So it's a better way to introduce yourself. And just like when people say, what do you do? Depending on who I'm talking to, I might say, I add zest to your life. That's what I do. So that's what I'm working on. That Powerful First Impressions is a very great course. And the other one is a program called Juicy Effective Conversation Techniques, which again expands on that. How do we have those conversations? How do we ask the proper questions? What's the difference between talking with a man and talking with a woman? So there are differences in body language. There are differences in posture. Especially if you're trying to supervise staff, you need to know where to stand. If you're talking to a woman, face her. Women like to sit across. We like to be face to face for a conversation. Have you ever been to a construction site? The men are watching a game, a sports game, they're all standing side by side. They're looking at something and they're shoulder to shoulder when they converse. It's quite interesting to watch the differences between men and women. And we cover some of that in the program. And the different needs that men have and the different needs that women have. So that's covered in Juicy Effective Conversation Techniques.
Awesome. Love it. Love it. So what's one skill you'd say you've mastered or really practiced that's gotten you to your level of success today?
It's not to let things get you down, to be able to get grounded when there's so much whirling around us, to know how to center myself, to know how to appreciate every day. And I start every day with a meditation. It's a journaled meditation. I've been doing it for, I think, 5 years now. And it really grounds me into gratitude to start with, and to connecting with the world and that vibration. And then what's my vision for where I want to be in 3 years? What's my vision of a perfect day? I write it out every day. And then what blessings are coming to me that day? So what's my intent for that day? So I think that's really important. I've learned that I need to start my day off with that ritual every day. And it just anchors me so that I can be a better of service to the people around me.
Awesome. Love it. Goodness, you said you've been journaling for 5 years. Do you have a ton of journals all over the place?
I do. I have a shelf full of journals. And one of the things that I do when I take a new client on, they get a copy of my book, but I also give them a journal so that they can keep their notes and their insights and their ahas in that journal.
Yeah, and keeping a journal is one of the most powerful things you can do, right? Because as we go through life and just go through our days, we get so many great insights and all these different things. And especially if you're in business, a big reason I realize it's important to keep a journal is to always remember that why, right? So sometimes we keep going, and we keep not making the main thing the main thing. We start off with knowing what the main thing is, but once we start taking action, all of a sudden the main thing becomes, what are we doing again? But having a journal just makes it to where you could always revisit and see why you got into doing what you do in the first place, right?
Absolutely. And I use mind maps with my clients. I don't know if you're familiar with them. So I make sure that they always focus on what is the center, and some of them say my ideal life in the center. Some say I'm building my empire. Others will say my future, my ideal future. Some will say my love relationship. And then from there we expand, but we always remember that whatever you're doing out here needs to be feeding that center core. And often we get carried away, designing the perfect logo. That's a real thing with entrepreneurs, changing the branding, changing the logo, instead of realizing, is this going to get me to where I want to go? So we have to keep our eyes clear into what we're doing here, why we're doing it, who do we serve, and how do we serve them? What problem do we solve?
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So what's one, let's say, what's a story you could share with us, which you haven't shared yet, that we can look back and say, oh, so that's how you kind of got to where you are today. That's why you're doing what you're doing. Do you have any specific stories that you could share?
It's a sad story. I was sick for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then it was like, there's more to life. Eh? When you get better and you look around and you go, wait a minute, life is too short to be wasting any time. That was my big lesson. I was working flat out. I was working 6 days a week for a member of parliament, and I wasn't spending enough time with my kids. I was working 90 hours a week. I know it's hard to do the math, and then I was just working too many hours. I was completely burnt out, and I didn't even realize it. It's like when you jump into a pot of hot water and they keep turning up the heat. I didn't realize it was boiling. And so as a circumstance of that, a consequence of it, I was sick for 3 years. And I'll tell you, when I got better, it was like a miracle. It was like I had a new lease on life, and I just want to get the juice, every drop of juice out of life. Because as we've seen, things could change. So now's the time for us to squeeze every drop of juice out of our lives and make it the very best life possible.
And it's so true as well. So because there's so many people out there living a life that they don't enjoy, they don't like, they don't feel like they're on purpose, and they're just doing things like kind of like Groundhog's Day, right? They don't enjoy any of it, but it's like repetitive over and over again. And it's so awesome to hear that you found that thing that you're passionate about, and now you're just sharing that vision and that mission with the world. Because I believe that so many other people, they have that opportunity, they want to do it, but they just don't have the role models to see and hear somebody else's story of how they did it, right?
Yes. And we can all do it. And the thing is that I feel so sad when I listen to children complaining when they should be having a great life. They shouldn't be burdened with complaining and unhappiness. That shouldn't be their worry. And they should just be focused on playing and having fun and enjoying their life. My granddaughter said the other day, she said, "Oh, I'm so sick of this COVID thing." I said, "Well, get used to it, because this may be the rest of your life. So you need to adapt and just do what you can with it." And she's got this real great knack to be able to turn on her dime, turn an attitude on a dime. And she knows what ZESTY is. So she'll tell you what ZESTY is. And she'll often say, "You can never have too much zest in your life, can you, Grandmama?" And I said, "No."
Awesome, awesome. Where are you originally from?
I'm originally from Ontario, Canada. I'm from a city in Northern Ontario, which is a mining city. My father worked in the mines. He was a diamond driller. So we're a mining community, and that's where I grew up. And after I got married, my husband was an executive with a major corporation. So we transferred. We pretty much lived all over Ontario. We lived in Ottawa 20 years ago. We lived in Thunder Bay on Lake Superior. So we've lived in north of Toronto. So we've lived in various cities. But that's where I'm originally from. But my family is French Canadian going back 600 years. We're one of the founding families in Canada.
Awesome. Love it. Love it. Okay, good, good. So what else do we need to know about you that you haven't shared with us here today?
As far as business is concerned, or about
business, anything you want to talk about?
I would say that we need to get really clear on what it means to start a business. That I've run into people that have wanted to coach with me, and I said, "So what do you want to do?" And "I want to be a speaker." So, "Well, that's great, but what are you going to talk about?" And she said, "Well, I don't know. I just want to be a speaker." So I think it's not understanding what comes first. You have a message, you have something you want to share, then you become a speaker. It's the same thing when people are saying, "I want to be an influencer." No, that's not the way it works. First, you do some great things, people will follow you, people will share, then you become an influencer. Oprah never set out to be an influencer, did she? She just did what she was doing. She was of service, and she became an influencer. So it's just a matter of be really clear. I think we go back to earlier, be clear on your why, be clear on what it is that you could bring to the world. What can you bring to be of service to the world, to make the world a better place? Because it's pretty mucked up. And we all have something to contribute to make it a better place. And then do the oath, do no harm, do no harm. Don't be complaining, don't be gossiping. I mean, it's hard for us not to, but we can still practice to do that. So can I leave you with a little tip that I use in my workshops?
Oh,
so
sure.
What I do is I have the non-complaining challenge, and it's in my book. But what I give everyone is an elastic. And so when you have a complaint, you have your elastic on your wrist, and when you complain, just change the elastic from one wrist to the other. I don't want you to snap it, because we've all had enough pain. We don't need any more pain in our life. But it's just a reminder. And if you tell other people about it and give them elastics, pretty soon they'll say, "That's a complaint. You need to change your elastics." I was doing an interview on television, and I did this exercise. And one of the hosts said, "Oh, great. Now I have to keep track of my complaints." Well, we laughed and said, "That's a complaint. You need to change the elastic arms." And what I've noticed in anything that starts with a swear word, pretty much guaranteed it's going to be followed by a complaint. So wear an elastic. It'll help you to complain less. Tell your friends and family about it, and they'll be really quick to remind you, is that a complaint? Do you need to change your elastic? Or in my family, we just say, do you need an elastic? They go, no, I'm good. I'll stop complaining.
Love it, Linda. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Now, if someone wanted to reach out and connect with you, what's the best way for them to be able to do so?
They could certainly reach out through my email or through my website. It's very simple. My website is lindababulic.com, and my email is linda@lindababulic.com.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also found under that on Facebook, or I also have a Facebook group called Zest Your Life, Zest Your Business. But I would love to connect with them one-on-one. That's great. Just send me an email and let me know that you saw this interview, and we'll go from there.
Awesome. Love it, Linda. Well, hey, and guys, if you're watching this interview on the live or the replay, the links to connect with Linda, they will be either right above or below the video, so you can click and get connected right to her. So again, Linda, hey, thank you so much for making the time to be here today. Really appreciate it. Do you have any final thoughts before we end?
Keep it zesty. If it's not zesty, it's not sustainable. So let's all keep it zesty, and you've got the zest, and thank you for sharing your zest with the world.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, enjoy, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, thank you.